Juliet Ambrose's hands trembled as she buttoned her uniform, each movement mechanical, her mind unable to process what had just happened. The silk sheets behind her still held the warmth of their bodies. The scent of his cologne mixed with her perfume, creating a fragrance that would haunt her for years to come. Yoon Park Lee stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, his back to her, rigid as stone. "The money has been transferred to your account." His voice was cold, empty, nothing like the man who had whispered her name like a prayer just hours ago. $500,000, enough to start over anywhere you want. Her throat tightened. "Yoon, please, we can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." He finally turned, and Juliet's breath caught. His face was a mask, those dark eyes that had looked at her with such tenderness now flat and distant. "Last night was a mistake. I don't keep women, Juliet. I thought you understood that." "A mistake?" The word tasted like poison. "You told me you'd never felt this way before. You said I was different." I lied. 2 words. Simple, devastating. Men like me say whatever we need to say to get what we want. You were convenient, attractive, and available. That's all. Each word was a knife, carefully placed to cause maximum damage. Juliet felt something inside her chest crack, splintering into pieces she knew she'd never be able to put back together. She'd been working in his household for 8 months, keeping her distance even as the attraction between them grew impossible to ignore. She'd resisted because she knew men like Yoon Park Lee didn't fall for women like her. Poor, black, invisible. But 3 nights ago, he'd found her crying in the kitchen after her mother's funeral. He'd sat with her, held her, listened to her talk about growing up in Detroit, about her mother's dreams for her, about how she'd come to Korea chasing something she couldn't name. And he'd opened up too, sharing things about his childhood, about the weight of running a criminal empire he'd never wanted, about the loneliness of living in a world where everyone either feared or wanted something from him. When he'd kissed her, it felt like coming home. Now, standing in his bedroom being dismissed like a prostitute, she realized she'd been a fool. "I quit." Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "Keep your money. I don't want anything from you. You'll take the money." His tone left no room for argument. "Consider it severance pay. And Juliet, if you're smart, you'll leave Korea. There's nothing for you here. There's nothing for me anywhere." The words slipped out, bitter and broken. Something flickered across his face, too quick to identify. Then it was gone. "Sang-min will drive you to collect your things. I want you out within the hour." She wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, to ask him how he could touch her the way he had and feel nothing but pride. The last shred of dignity she had left kept her silent. She walked past him, head high, even as tears blurred her vision. At the door, she paused. "I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, Yoon Park Lee. I hope it keeps you warm at night." She didn't wait for a response. Sang-min, Yoon's head of security, waited outside with her single suitcase already packed. His face was carefully neutral, but she caught a flicker of sympathy in his eyes. The drive to a hotel was silent. When they arrived, he handed her an envelope. "He wanted you to have this too. Passport, visa documentation for wherever you want to go, and contact information for job placements in 6 different countries." Juliet stared at the envelope, then at Sang-min. Does he do this for all his conquests? Plan their entire exit strategy? Sang-min's jaw tightened. "Miss Ambrose, I've worked for Yoon Park Lee for 12 years. I've never seen him bring a woman to his private residence. You were the first and only one allowed into his personal space. Whatever happened between you, whatever he said, I can tell you with certainty that you were never just another conquest." "Then why?" Because he's afraid. Sang-min's voice dropped. 3 years ago, he had a younger sister. She was killed by his enemies to send a message. Since then, anyone he cares about becomes a target. So he doesn't care about anyone. The revelation hit her like a physical blow. He never mentioned a sister. He doesn't talk about her, not even to me. Sang-min's expression softened. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth, even if he'll never give it to you. What he did this morning, the cruelty, it was protection. His way of making sure you stay safe by making sure you stay away. Juliet felt fresh tears spill down her cheeks. That doesn't make it hurt less. No, Sang-min agreed quietly. It doesn't. 3 months later, Juliet collapsed while stocking shelves at a small grocery store in Busan. She'd moved to the coastal city trying to escape the memories of Seoul, taking the first job she could find that didn't require explaining why she'd left her previous position. The money Yoon had given her sat untouched in her account. She couldn't bring herself to spend it, but she couldn't bring herself to return it either. The floor rushed up to meet her, and the last thing she saw before everything went black was a man's face, concerned and unfamiliar, his hands reaching out to catch her. When she woke, she was in a hospital bed. The man from the store sat in a chair beside her, reading a newspaper. He was handsome in a softer way than Yoon, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. You're awake. Good. You gave everyone quite a scare. He set down the paper and leaned forward. I'm Young-ho Choi. I was shopping when you fainted. The doctors have been running tests. Tests? Juliet tried to sit up, but dizziness forced her back down. I can't afford tests. I don't have, insurance here. Already taken care of. He waved dismissively. Don't worry about that. The doctor will be in soon to discuss the results. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Young-ho's smile was warm, disarming. Let's just say I believe in helping people when I can. Besides, you're American, right? Far from home, probably without family here. Sometimes, strangers are all we have. Before she could respond, the doctor entered, a middle-aged woman with a clipboard and a knowing smile. Miss Ambrose, congratulations. You're pregnant, about 3 months along. The world tilted. That's impossible. I haven't been feeling pregnant. No morning sickness, nothing. Some women don't experience typical symptoms, especially in the first trimester. But the tests are conclusive. You're definitely pregnant. Pregnant. With Yoon Park Lee's child, the man who'd thrown her away like garbage, the man who'd made it clear he wanted nothing to do with her. Juliet's hands went to her still flat stomach, and she felt something shift inside her. Terror, joy, grief, all tangled together until she couldn't separate one emotion from another. Is there someone I should call? The doctor asked gently. The father? No. The word came out sharp, definitive. There's no one. I'm alone. Young-ho stood, his expression concerned. You don't have to be alone. I know we just met, but I'd like to help. Do you have a place to stay? A job? I have a room above the store and the job, but I don't know how long I'll be able to work once I start showing. Then let me help. I own several properties in Busan. I have a small apartment that's sitting empty. You could stay there, no rent, until you get on your feet. Juliet stared at this stranger offering her kindness she didn't deserve. Why? What do you want from me? Nothing. Young-ho's voice was sincere, his eyes honest. I lost my wife 3 years ago. She was pregnant when she died. Car accident. Since then, I've made it my mission to help women in difficult situations when I can. Call it penance, therapy, whatever you want. But please, let me do this. Something in his voice, the raw pain when he mentioned his wife, made her believe him. And God help her, she needed someone to believe in. Okay, thank you. Over the following months, Jung-ho became her lifeline. He took her to doctor's appointments, helped her prepare for the babies. Yes, babies. The ultrasound at 5 months revealed twins, and never asked about their father. He was respectful, kind, keeping a careful distance even as he provided everything she needed. Juliet told herself she was lucky, told herself that Jung-ho was a good man, told herself that the hollowness in her chest would eventually fill with something other than memories of Yoon Park Lee. She was wrong on all counts. 3 years later, Juliet pushed the double stroller through Olympic Park in Seoul, watching her twins, Zion and Mia, point excitedly at the ducks in the pond. They had Yoon's eyes, that distinctive shape and intensity that made her heart ache every time she looked at them. They had her skin, her smile, but everything else was pure Yoon Park Lee. Jung-ho walked beside her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. He'd convinced her to move back to Seoul 6 months ago, saying his business required it, and that the city had better opportunities for the children. She'd resisted at first, terrified of running into Yoon, but Jung-ho had been insistent in his gentle way. The children need a father figure, he'd said, and I'd like to be that for them, if you'll let me. I know we've kept things friendly, professional, but Juliet, I care about you, about all of you. She'd agreed because the twins did need a father, and Jung-ho had been more of a parent to them than their biological father would ever be. He'd proposed last month, a simple ring and a simpler promise. Family, stability, safety. She hadn't said yes yet, but she hadn't said no either. "Mama, look!" Mia's voice rang out. "That man is staring at us!" Juliet looked up and her entire world stopped. Yoon Park Lee stood 30 feet away, frozen, his face drained of color. He was with a woman, stunning and cold, her arm linked possessively through his. The woman was speaking to him, but he wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on the twins, recognition dawning across his features like a sunrise. Their eyes met, and Juliet saw her own shock reflected back at her. Then something else flooded his expression: horror, longing, devastation. He took a step toward them. Jung-ho's hand tightened on her shoulder, possessive, warning. "Juliet, do you know that man?" She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. 3 years of carefully constructed walls crumbled in an instant. Yoon took another step, and the woman with him finally noticed his distraction. She followed his gaze, her eyes narrowing as she assessed Juliet and the children with cold calculation. "We should go." Jung-ho's voice was urgent now. "Juliet, we need to leave. Now." But she couldn't move, couldn't look away from the father of her children as he stared at the twins like he was seeing ghosts. His lips moved, forming words she couldn't hear from this distance, but she could read them clearly enough. "Mine. They're mine." Yoon Park Lee's world had narrowed to 3 faces. 2 children, no more than 3 years old, with features he recognized in his own mirror every morning. Korean eyes set in beautiful brown faces, their expressions curious and innocent. And Juliet. God, Juliet. She was thinner than he remembered, her natural hair pulled back in twists, wearing simple jeans and a sweater that probably cost less than his watch. But she was still the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. "Yoon?" Ji-Hae-Don's voice cut through his paralysis, sharp and irritated. "Who are these people?" He couldn't answer. His feet were moving before his brain could catch up, closing the distance between him and the family he never knew he had. The man beside Juliet, some Korean man Yoon didn't recognize, stepped protectively in front of her and the children. "I think you have us confused with someone else," the man said smoothly. Too smoothly. Yoon's eyes never left Juliet's face. "How old are they?" She lifted her chin, that stubborn pride he'd fallen in love with blazing in her eyes. "That's none of your business." How old are they? Each word was ground out between clenched teeth. 3 years and 2 months. Her voice was steady, but he saw her hands trembling on the stroller. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to go. 3 years and 2 months. The timeline hit him like a bullet. That night, the night he'd held her and loved her and destroyed her, all in the span of 12 hours. The night he'd ripped his own heart out to save her life. Juliet, please. I need to talk to you. No. Simple. Final. You made it very clear 3 years ago that you wanted nothing to do with me. That feeling is mutual. Ji-hai appeared at his shoulder, her eyes calculating as she studied the scene. Yoon, darling, we're going to be late for our meeting with the wedding planner. Wedding planner. Right. Because in 2 weeks he was supposed to marry Ji-hai Dawn, daughter of his largest business partner, a marriage arranged to solidify alliances and expand territories. A marriage he'd agreed to because it didn't matter who he married when he couldn't have the woman he wanted. Except she was standing right in front of him, with his children. I'll reschedule, he said, not looking at Ji-hai. You'll do no such thing. Ji-hai's voice could have frozen fire. We have guests flying in from Hong Kong specifically for this meeting. Whatever this is, it can wait. The man, still positioned protectively in front of Juliet, spoke up. The lady asked you to leave. I suggest you respect that request. Yoon finally looked at him, really looked, and something cold slithered down his spine. There was something familiar about this man's face, something that tugged at memories he couldn't quite grasp. And you are? Young-ho Choi, Juliet's fiancé and the children's father. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Yoon's vision actually blurred at the edges. Their father. In every way that matters, yes. Jung-ho's smile was gentle, but there was something underneath it, something that made Yoon's instincts scream danger. Biology isn't what makes a family. Being there is, and I've been there from the beginning. From the beginning. Meaning this man had been there when Juliet found out she was pregnant. Had been there for doctor's appointments, for late-night cravings, for the births, for first steps and first words. All the moments Yoon had missed because he'd been too much of a coward to fight for her. Mama, why is the tall man crying? The little girl's voice, sweet and concerned, shattered what remained of Yoon's composure. He touched his face, and his fingers came away wet. He was crying. In public, in front of Ji-hai and Juliet, and the man claiming to be father to his children. He's not crying, baby, Juliet said softly. He just has something in his eye. Say goodbye now. We need to go home. Goodbye, tall man. Both children waved, their innocent smiles breaking him in ways he didn't know he could break. Juliet turned the stroller, and Young-ho placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her away. Yoon watched them leave, his body screaming at him to follow, to demand answers, to claim what was his. But Ji-hai's hand locked around his arm like a vice. Interesting, she murmured. I assume those are yours. He couldn't lie, couldn't find the energy. Yes. And the woman? Someone from my past. Someone you clearly still have feelings for. Ji-hai's voice was cold, analytical. This complicates things. It changes nothing. The lie tasted like ash. We have an arrangement. Indeed we do. She released his arm, smoothing down her designer dress. And I expect you to honor it. Whatever sentiment you're feeling right now, I suggest you bury it. Our wedding is in 2 weeks. Your children, if they are yours, are irrelevant to our agreement. Irrelevant? His children were irrelevant. The woman he loved was irrelevant. Everything that mattered was irrelevant compared to business and power and maintaining the empire. For the first time in 3 years, Yoon Park Lee questioned whether the empire was worth the price he'd paid for it. That evening, Yoon sat in his office, multiple monitors displaying every piece of information his people could dig up on Jung-ho Choi. What he found made his blood run cold. "Boss, you need to see this." Song-min pointed to a photograph from 6 years ago. Jung-ho Choi used to go by a different name, Jung-ho Baek. He was second in command in the Baek family organization. The Baek family, Yoon's oldest enemies. The organization he'd systematically destroyed 5 years ago after they'd killed his sister. "He disappeared 3 years ago," Song-min continued, "right after we took down the last of the Baek strongholds. We assumed he was dead or had fled the country. He wasn't dead." Yoon's voice was hollow. "He was in Busan, with Juliet. Boss, the timeline. She would have been about 3 months pregnant when she met him." Yoon's hands clenched into fists. "He knew. Somehow, he knew she was connected to me." "But how? You were careful. No one knew about her." "Someone knew." Yoon pulled up another file. "I want surveillance on him, 24/7. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, everything he does." "And Miss Ambrose?" The question hung in the air. What about Juliet? The woman who thought Jung-ho was her savior when he was actually a snake waiting to strike. "Protect her, but from a distance. She can't know." Sang-min nodded, but his expression was troubled. "Boss, if Jung-ho is who we think he is, those children are in danger. He's using them." "I know." Yoon's voice was barely a whisper. "I know." 3 days later, Yoon's driver pulled up to a small playground, where Juliet brought the children every afternoon. He'd memorized her schedule, pathetic as that was. He waited until Jung-ho left for work before approaching. Juliet saw him coming, and her expression hardened. "I told you to stay away." "We need to talk. Please, 5 minutes." "I don't have anything to say to you." "Then listen." He moved closer, careful not to spook her. "Jung-ho Choi isn't who you think he is." Her laugh was bitter. "Rich, coming from you. The man who pretended to care about me, then threw me away like garbage. I did care. I do care. That's why I sent you away. Save it, Yoon. I'm not that naive girl anymore. Jung-ho has been there for me when no one else was. He's been a father to Zion and Mia, a real father, not just DNA. He's using you. Using them. Juliet, he's my enemy. He's been planning this." She went very still. "What are you talking about?" "Jung-ho used to work for the organization that killed my sister. He disappeared 3 years ago, right around the time you would have found out you were pregnant. Don't you find that convenient? You're paranoid. Jung-ho is a businessman. He owns properties, restaurants. He's legitimate. On paper, yes. But I've had him investigated. Every property he owns is a front. Every business is a shell corporation. And his real name is Jung-ho Baek. The name clearly meant nothing to her. So he changed his name. Lots of people do that." "The Baek family murdered my sister." Yoon's voice cracked. "They cut her throat and left her body on my doorstep as a message. Jung-ho was part of that organization. And now he's with you, raising my children. And you think that's coincidence?" Juliet's face had gone pale. "You're lying. You're trying to manipulate me." "I wish I was." He pulled out his phone, showing her photographs, documents, evidence he'd compiled. "Look at this. This is Jung-ho 3 years ago with known Baek family members. This is a police report linking him to 2 murders. This is..." She slapped the phone out of his hand. "Stop! Just stop! Even if this is true, even if Jung-ho isn't who I thought he was, why should I trust you? You're the one who broke my heart. You're the one who sent me away. At least Jung-ho was there when I needed someone. I sent you away to protect you. By telling me I was nothing? By making me feel worthless? By making you hate me enough to leave and stay gone?" The words exploded out of him. "You don't understand the world I live in, Juliet. Everyone I care about dies. My parents, my sister, business partners, who became friends. They all died because people wanted to hurt me. I couldn't let that happen to you. So instead, you destroyed me yourself. How noble. It was supposed to keep you safe, and it did, until Jung-ho found you. Juliet, please, you have to believe me. He's dangerous. She was quiet for a long moment, watching the children play. Zion was helping Mia climb the jungle gym, his protective instincts already strong at 3 years old. They ask about you sometimes, not about you specifically, but about where they come from, why they look different from Jung-ho, why they don't have grandparents like the other kids. The words were knives. What do you tell them? That their father loved them but couldn't be with us, that sometimes love isn't enough. She finally looked at him, and her eyes were wet. Was it really about protection, Yoon? Or was I just not worth the trouble? You were worth everything. You are worth everything. Then why are you marrying Ji-Hai Dawn in 11 days? The question gutted him. It's complicated. It always is with you. She called to the children. Zion, Mia, time to go. Wait, please, let me do a DNA test. Let me legally acknowledge them as mine. I can protect them better if... No. Her voice was steel. You gave up that right when you threw me away. They have a father. They don't need you. They need to know the truth about Jung-ho. The truth according to you, the man who lied to me about everything. She gathered the children, who looked at Yoon with curious eyes. Stay away from us, Yoon Park Lee. If you really care about their safety, stay far away. She left, and Yoon stood alone in the playground, surrounded by the ghost of the family he'd destroyed before it ever had a chance to begin. That night, Ji-Hai came to his penthouse uninvited. She poured herself a drink and studied him with those cold, calculating eyes. You're in love with her. The maid. Former maid. And it's none of your business. It's absolutely my business. You're my fiancé, or have you forgotten? She took a sip of whiskey. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to marry me in 11 days as planned. You're going to smile for the cameras and play the devoted husband. And in exchange, I'll help you with your little problem. What problem? Jung-ho Choi, or Baek, whatever he's calling himself these days. Her smile was sharp. I know who he is. I've known for months. Yoon's blood ran cold. What? Oh, don't look so shocked. I do my research. When I learned about your past with the Baek family, I made it my business to know where all the survivors ended up. Jung-ho has been watching you for 3 years, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Finding your pregnant ex-girlfriend must have felt like winning the lottery. If you knew, why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't relevant until now. She set down her glass. But things have changed. Those children make you vulnerable. Jung-ho knows that. He's going to use them to destroy you. I won't let him. You can't stop him alone, but I can help. My family has resources, connections. We can neutralize Jung-ho, protect the children, and keep your little family safe. All you have to do is honor our agreement. Yoon stared at her. Why would you help them? You made it clear you don't care about my bastard children. I don't. But I care about my investment. If Jung-ho destroys you, he destroys my family's alliance with your organization. That's unacceptable. She moved closer, her perfume expensive and suffocating. Marry me. Give me the legitimacy and status I need, and I'll make sure your children and their mother live long, safe lives. Refuse, and I'll stand back and watch Jung-ho tear everything you love to pieces. It was blackmail dressed up as partnership. And Juliet? She can hate you forever for all I care. As long as she's alive and the children are safe, does it matter? It mattered. It mattered more than anything. But Ji-Hai was right about one thing. He couldn't protect them alone. Not against Jung-ho. Fine. We marry as planned. Ji-Hai's smile was triumphant. Excellent. I'll have my people start surveillance on Jung-ho tomorrow. In the meantime, I suggest you stay away from your little family. The more you're seen with them, the more danger you put them in. After she left, Yoon stood by the window, looking out at Seoul's glittering skyline. Somewhere out there, Juliet was putting his children to bed, reading them stories, tucking them in, all while believing the man who wanted to destroy their father was her savior. And Yoon was powerless to save them without becoming the monster they already thought he was. Jung-ho Choi stood in his office watching security footage of Yoon's meeting with Juliet at the playground. A slow smile spread across his face as he rewound to the part where she'd slapped Yoon's phone away. Perfect. She didn't believe him. Even better, she'd defended Jung-ho without knowing the truth. "Sir?" His assistant, a young man named Min-jun, knocked on the door. "The surveillance team reports Yoon. Park Lee has increased security around his properties. He's also been making inquiries about our operations. Let him dig. He won't find anything that matters." Jung-ho poured himself a drink. "What about Ji-Hee-don?" "She visited Yoon's penthouse last night. Stayed for 47 minutes. Jung-ho's smile widened. "She's making her move. Good. Let them think they're forming an alliance. It'll make the fall that much sweeter." "And Miss Ambrose? Should we be concerned about Yoon's attempts to contact her?" "No. Juliet is exactly where I need her. Loyal, grateful, and completely unaware of what's really happening." He took a sip of whiskey, savoring the burn. 3 years of investment are about to pay off. Min-jun hesitated. "Sir, the children. They're starting to ask questions about their real father. Juliet mentioned it to you last week." "I know. Which is why we're accelerating the timeline." Jung-ho pulled up a document on his computer. "Next week, we're going to have a little family emergency. Nothing serious. Just enough to require Juliet to reach out to Yoon for help. She won't do that. She hates him. She hates him now. But maternal instinct is a powerful thing. When she thinks the twins are in danger, she'll swallow her pride." Jung-ho's eyes glittered with malice. "And when Yoon comes running to save them, that's when we strike." That same evening, Juliet tucked Zion and Mia into bed, exhaustion weighing heavy on her shoulders. The encounter with Yoon 3 days ago had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. His words about Jung-ho kept echoing in her head, mixing with memories of the man who'd broken her heart. "Mama." Mia's small voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Who was the tall man at the park?" Juliet's chest tightened. "Just someone Mama used to know. He had eyes like Zion and me." Mia touched her own face, tracing the shape of her eyes. "Is he our daddy?" The question she'd been dreading. "Why do you ask, that baby?" "Because Jung-ho's eyes are different, and you looked sad when you saw the tall man. You only look sad when you think about our daddy. Children saw too much, understood too much. It's complicated, Mia. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to tell the truth." Zion sat up in bed, his expression serious beyond his years. "We're not babies, Mama. We can handle the truth." Juliet looked at her son, so much like Yoon it hurt. "Okay. Yes, the tall man is your biological father. But Jung-ho is your dad, the man who takes care of you, who reads you stories, who's been there since you were born." "Why isn't our biological father there?" Zion asked. "Because sometimes adults make difficult choices. Your biological father couldn't be part of our lives, so Jung-ho stepped in." "Did our biological father not want us?" The question broke her heart. "It's not that simple, baby. It seems simple." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "Either he wanted us, or he didn't." Juliet pulled both children into her arms, feeling them shake with confused emotion. Your biological father didn't know about you, and by the time he found out, our lives had moved on. Young-ho loves you. He chose you. That's what matters." But even as she said the words, doubt crept in. Yoon's warnings about Jung-ho played on repeat in her mind. What if he was telling the truth? What if the man she'd trusted for 3 years was actually dangerous? No, she couldn't think like that. Yoon was manipulative, trying to control a situation he'd created by throwing her away. Jung-ho had saved her when she had nothing. He'd been patient, kind, never asking for more than she was willing to give. But a small voice in her head whispered, "Why? Why would a stranger invest so much in someone else's children unless he had an ulterior motive?" The next morning, Juliet's phone rang while she was making breakfast. Unknown number. "Miss Ambrose, this is Sang-min. We met briefly." 3 years ago when you left Yoon's employment. Her hand tightened on the phone. "How did you get this number?" "That's not important. What's important is I have information about Jung-ho Choi that you need to see. Information that proves everything Yoon told you is true. I'm not interested in, he's planning something. Something that will put your children in danger. Please, just meet with me. 1 hour. I'll show you proof, and if you still don't believe me, I'll never contact you again." Against her better judgment, against every instinct screaming at her to hang up, Juliet agreed. 2 hours later, she sat in a small cafe across from Sang-min, staring at photographs and documents spread across the table. "This is Jung-ho 3 years ago with known members of the Beck crime family." Sang-min pointed to a photo of Jung-ho, younger, harder, standing with men who looked like killers. "This is a police report linking him to an arms trafficking operation. And this," he pulled out a document, "is evidence that he's been monitoring Yoon's movements for the past 3 years." Juliet's hands trembled as she picked up the surveillance photos. They showed Yoon at various locations, dates stamped from 3 years ago to present. "This doesn't prove he's dangerous to me or the children. Look at the dates. This photo was taken the day after you collapsed at the grocery store. Jung-ho wasn't shopping coincidentally. He was watching you because he knew you were connected to Yoon. That's impossible. No one knew about Yoon and me. We were careful." Sang-min's expression was sympathetic. Yoon thought so too. But someone in his organization leaked information to the Beck family years ago. They've been watching him, looking for weaknesses. When you started working in his household, they noticed. The room spun. "You're saying Jung-ho has been using me from the beginning?" "I'm saying he saw an opportunity when you got pregnant and took it. Think about it, Miss Ambrose. What are the odds that a wealthy Korean man just happened to be in that exact grocery store when you collapsed? That he just happened to have an empty apartment? That he just happened to want to help raise another man's children?" The odds were astronomical, and yet she'd never questioned it, because she'd been desperate and alone, and grateful for any kindness. What does he want? Revenge. The Yoon family destroyed the bike organization 5 years ago. Jung-ho wants to rebuild it using your children as leverage. My children? Ice flooded her veins. How? By making Yoon care about them, by putting them in danger, and forcing Yoon to choose between his empire and his family. Either way, Jung-ho wins. If Yoon chooses the empire, he's destroyed emotionally. If he chooses the family, he's weakened politically, and Jung-ho can strike. Juliet felt sick. I need to go. I need to get the children and go where? Jung-ho has people watching you 24/7. If you run, he'll know. Then what do I do? Sang-min leaned forward. You let us help. Yoon has resources, protection. He can keep you and the children safe. In exchange for what? There's always a price with men like him. The price is already paid, Miss Ambrose. Yoon threw away everything that mattered to protect you 3 years ago. He's not asking for anything except the chance to keep his children safe. Tears burned her eyes. He's marrying Ji Hae-dan in 8 days. A business arrangement. One he hates, but agreed to because it gives him the resources to fight Young-ho. This is insane. All of it. Juliet pressed her palms to her eyes. I just wanted to raise my children in peace. I know. But peace isn't an option anymore. Young-ho won't stop until he's used your children to destroy Yoon. The only way to protect them is to fight back. She looked at the evidence scattered across the table, at the proof that her entire life for the past 3 years had been a lie. What do you need me to do? For now, act normal. Don't let Young-ho know you suspect anything. Yoon and Ji-hae are working on a plan to neutralize him, but it takes time. And in the meantime, I'm supposed to let that monster around my children? We have surveillance on him constantly. If he makes any move toward the twins, we'll know immediately. Sang-min's voice gentled. I know this is hard, but you're not alone anymore. Juliet gathered the documents, her mind racing. I want to talk to Yoon, face to face. That's not safe. If Jung-ho sees you together, I don't care. If I'm supposed to trust him with my children's lives, I need to hear it from him directly. Sang-min sighed but pulled out his phone. I'll arrange it. That night, Juliet stood in Yoon's penthouse for the first time in 3 years. Everything was exactly as she remembered, down to the view of Seoul glittering below. Yoon stood by the window, his back to her, and for a moment they were frozen in time, back to that last morning when everything fell apart. You came. His voice was rough, like he'd been shouting or crying or both. Sang-min showed me the evidence, about Jung-ho. I'm sorry. He turned, and she saw the devastation in his eyes. I'm sorry you were alone when you found out about the babies. Sorry Jung-ho found you. Sorry for all of it. Why did you really send me away, Yoon? And don't give me the protection excuse. I need the whole truth. He moved to the bar, poured 2 drinks, and handed her one. My sister, Ji-yeon, was 23 when the Beck family killed her. They grabbed her outside her apartment, tortured her for 3 days trying to get information about our operations, then left her body where I'd find it. His hand shook slightly. The coroner said she'd been calling for me the whole time, begging them to let her call her brother. Juliet's throat tightened. After that, I made a rule. No one close. No one who could be used against me. I burned bridges with friends, kept my remaining family at arm's length, made sure everyone knew I cared about nothing except business. He met her eyes. Then you showed up with your bright smile, and your terrible Korean, and your fusion cooking that shouldn't have worked but did. You made me feel human again. Made me want things I'd sworn off. So you destroyed me to save me. I destroyed us both. But you lived. That was all that mattered. And now? Now that Jung-ho has me anyway? Now I fix it. Whatever it takes, I protect you and our children. Even if it means marrying Ji-hae. Even then, he set down his drink. She's cold and calculating, but she's also powerful. With her family's resources combined with mine, we can dismantle Jung-ho's operation and make sure he never threatens you again. And after? After Jung-ho is gone and you're married to her, what happens to us? The question hung between them, heavy with 3 years of pain and longing. I don't know, admitted. But I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you and the children want for nothing. Education, security, opportunity, everything. That's not what I asked. I know, his voice broke. But it's all I can promise. Juliet set down her untouched drink. I need to know something. If you could go back, if you could change that morning 3 years ago, would you? In a heartbeat. Even knowing it would put me in danger? I'd find another way. I'd be smarter, stronger, better. I'd protect you without destroying you. He stepped closer. I'd tell you I loved you every day instead of just once. I'd be there when you found out about the babies. I'd hold your hand through the births and stay up for midnight feedings and learn to braid Mia's hair. I'd be the father and partner you deserved instead of the coward I was. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's the truth. Because it makes me want to forgive you, and I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to protect our children. Our children. She tested the words. You really believe they're yours. I know they're mine. I see myself in Zion's protective instincts, in Mia's stubborn questions. I see you in their kindness and strength. His hand reached up like he wanted to touch her face, then dropped. But more than biology, they're mine, because I love them. Even having never held them, I love them with everything I am. The raw honesty shattered something inside her. What's the plan? How do we stop Young-ho? Ji-hee's people are gathering evidence to bring him down legally. But that takes time. In the meantime, you act normal. Keep your routine. We'll have protection on you constantly, invisible but there. What if he figures out I know? He won't. You're stronger than he thinks. Stronger than I gave you credit for 3 years ago. Yoon's voice was fierce. You survived losing me, raising twins alone, starting over in a foreign country. You can survive this. I don't feel strong. I feel terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just remember, you're not alone anymore. As she left the penthouse, Juliet realized that for the first time in 3 years, that was actually true. She wasn't alone. But whether that was a comfort or just another complication, she couldn't say. 5 days before the wedding, everything went to hell. Juliet was walking the twins home from preschool when a black van pulled up beside them. Before she could react, 3 men in masks jumped out. One grabbed Mia, while another reached for Zion. Juliet screamed, fighting with everything she had. But then something hard connected with the back of her head, and the world went dark. She woke in a warehouse, her hands zip-tied to a chair. The twins were across the room in a cage, crying but unharmed. And standing between them was Young-ho, his gentle mask finally stripped away to reveal the monster underneath. I'm disappointed, Juliet. His voice was cold, nothing like the warm man she'd known. I really thought we could do this the easy way. Let them go. Please. They're just children. They're leverage. The only thing Yoon Park Lee values more than his empire. Jung-ho crouched in front of her. Did you think I wouldn't notice you meeting with Sang-min? That I wouldn't see you visit Yoon's penthouse? Her blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. I've been watching you for 3 years. I know every expression, every tell. You know the truth about me now. The question is, what are we going to do about it? You used me. You used my children. I saved you when no one else would. I gave you a home, security, family. And yes, I had my own reasons. But that doesn't make the care I provided any less real. Care? You call this care? She gestured to the twins, sobbing in their cage. You're traumatizing them. Temporarily. Once Yoon is dead, we'll be a family again. The children will have everything they need. And you'll learn to love me the way you were supposed to from the beginning. The delusion in his voice was terrifying. I will never love you. You don't have a choice, he stood, pulling out his phone. But first, we need to invite your children's father to the party. He took a photo of the twins in the cage and sent it. 30 seconds later, his phone rang. Yoon Park Lee, so good to hear your voice after all these years. Young-ho's smile was vicious. I have something of yours. 3 somethings, actually. If you want them back alive, you'll come alone. Any police, any backup, and I start sending you pieces. Juliet couldn't hear Yoon's response, but Jung-ho's expression darkened. You have 2 hours. The old Black family compound in Incheon. Come alone, or they die. He hung up and looked at Juliet. He's on his way, desperate just like I planned. He'll kill you. He'll try. But I've been planning this for 5 years. Every contingency, every possibility. By tonight, Yoon Park Lee will be dead, and I'll have everything he ever cared about. The next 90 minutes were torture. Juliet tried everything to get free, but the zip ties held firm. She talked to the twins, keeping them calm, promising them everything would be okay, even as her own terror mounted. Mia had stopped crying, but Zion's face was blank, shut down, the way it got when he was overwhelmed. Mama, I'm scared, Mia whispered. I know, baby. But remember what I always tell you. We're stronger than we think. Is our real daddy coming to save us? Before Juliet could answer, the warehouse door exploded inward. Yoon stood in the opening, alone as instructed, his hands raised to show he was unarmed. Jung-ho's men surrounded him immediately, weapons trained on his head and chest. Touching. The mighty Yoon Park Lee, brought to his knees by 3 people he barely knows. Jung-ho circled Yoon like a predator. Tell me, does it hurt? Knowing you abandoned them, and now you'll die watching them suffer? Let them go. This is between us. Yoon's voice was steady, but Juliet saw the fear in his eyes when he looked at the twins. No. They stay. They watch. They learn what happens when you cross the Beck family. The Beck family is dead. You're the last one left, and after tonight, there won't even be a memory. Jung-ho struck him, a vicious backhand that split Yoon's lip. I am the memory. I am the revenge for everyone you killed. My uncle, my cousins, my friends. You took everything from me. Now, I take everything from you. What happened next occurred in seconds, but felt like hours. Ji Hye-dan appeared from the shadows behind Jung-ho's men, a gun in her hand. She fired twice, dropping 2 guards before anyone could react. Sang-min and a team of armed men poured through side entrances, and suddenly the warehouse was a war zone. Yoon moved like lightning, disarming the guard nearest him and using the man as a shield. He fought his way toward the twins' cage, taking bullets meant for him, bleeding but unstoppable. Jung-ho pulled his own weapon, aiming at the cage. If I can't have them, no one can! Time slowed. Juliet screamed. Yoon threw himself in front of the cage, just as Jung-ho fired. The bullet hit Yoon in the chest, and he went down hard. But Ji-hye was already there, her gun pressed to Jung-ho's temple. It's over. Jung-ho laughed, the sound unhinged. It's never over. Kill me, and my people will hunt them forever. Let me go, and maybe I'll show mercy. Your people are already dead or in custody, Ji-hye said coldly. My family spent the past week dismantling your entire operation. There's nothing left to threaten anyone with. The realization dawned on Jung-ho's face. He'd been outmaneuvered, outplanned. He lunged for the cage one last time, but Ji-hye pulled the trigger. Jung-ho's body hit the floors and didn't move. Sang-min rushed to free the twins, while Ji-hye cut Juliet's zip ties. But Juliet only had eyes for Yoon, bleeding on the warehouse floor, his hand still reaching toward the cage even in unconsciousness. Yoon! She dropped beside him, pressing her hands to the bullet wound. No, 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 stay with me. Please stay with me. His eyes fluttered open, focusing on her face. Children. Okay. They're fine. You saved them. But you're hurt. We need to get you to a hospital. Juliet. His hand found hers, blood slick and trembling. I love you. Always. Loved you. Don't you dare die on me, Yoon Park Lee. Don't you dare. Tears streamed down her face. You promised to make everything right. You can't do that if you're dead. Did my best. His eyes closed. No. Yoon, please. She looked at Sang-min desperately. Where's the ambulance? 2 minutes out. 2 minutes felt like forever. Juliet held Yoon's hand, feeling his pulse grow weaker, watching his face go pale. The twins were freed now, and Mia crawled over, her small hand touching Yoon's face. Don't die, Daddy. Please don't die. The word Daddy on her daughter's lips seemed to reach Yoon even in his fading consciousness. His eyes opened one more time, finding Mia's face, then Zion's as he joined his sister. He smiled, and it was the most beautiful, broken thing Juliet had ever seen. My children. Then the paramedics arrived, and he was swept away on a gurney, leaving Juliet and the twins standing in a warehouse that smelled of gunpowder and blood, surrounded by bodies and broken dreams. The hospital waiting room became Juliet's world for the next 18 hours. Yoon was in surgery, the bullet having nicked his lung and lodged near his heart. The doctor said it was touch and go. The twins curled up on the waiting room chairs, exhausted and traumatized, but safe. Ji-hai sat across from Juliet, still in her blood-spattered designer suit. Thank you, Juliet said finally, for saving us. I didn't do it for you. I did it because Jung-ho threatened my family's interests. Ji-hee's voice was cold, but Juliet saw the truth in her eyes. She'd done it for Yoon. You love him. Love is a liability. But yes, in my own way, I suppose I do. Ji-hai studied her perfectly manicured nails. The wedding is canceled, obviously. My father is furious, but some things can't be helped. Why did you agree to marry him if you knew he loved someone else? Because I thought I could live with a loveless marriage if it gave me power. Turns out, I'm not as cold as I believed. She looked at the twins. They need him, and he needs them. My pride isn't worth destroying that. Juliet didn't know what to say. This woman had just given up everything for Yoon's happiness. When the surgeon finally emerged, Juliet's heart stopped. He's stable. The surgery was successful. He'll need time to recover, but he should make a full recovery. The relief was so intense Juliet couldn't breathe. Can I see him? Family only right now. I'm family, Juliet said firmly. I'm the mother of his children. The surgeon nodded and led her to ICU. Yoon lay in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped steadily. His face was pale but peaceful. Juliet took his hand, and his eyes opened slowly. You're here. Where else would I be? Thought you hated me. I did. I do. I don't know. She laughed through tears. You're infuriating and impossible, and you broke my heart into pieces I'm still finding. Sorry. But you also threw yourself in front of a bullet for our children. You gave up your wedding, your alliance, everything to save us. So maybe I don't hate you as much as I thought. Juliet. His grip on her hand tightened weakly. I meant what I said. I love you. I never stopped. I know. I love you too. I tried not to, but I can't help it. You are the father of my children and the man who destroyed me and saved me, and I love you. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. Second chance? A second chance. But Yoon, if you ever throw me away again, if you ever decide I'm too much trouble or too dangerous to love, I will take those children and disappear where you'll never find us. Won't happen. I'm never letting you go again. Promise? Promise. 3 months later, Juliet stood in Yoon's penthouse, watching the twins play on the floor with their father. Yoon had recovered fully, though he moved more carefully now, aware of his mortality in ways he hadn't been before. He'd officially claimed the children, their birth certificates amended to include his name. He'd set up trust funds, hired the best tutors, and spent every free moment learning to be the father he'd missed being. And slowly, carefully, Juliet had let him back into her heart. They weren't married. She'd refused his proposal twice, saying she needed time. But they were a family, and that was enough for now. "Mama, look." Mia held up a drawing. "I drew our family." Juliet studied the picture. 4 stick figures holding hands, all smiling. Above them, Mia had written in careful letters, "My family is stronger than we think." "It's perfect, baby." Yoon came to stand beside her, his arms sliding around her waist. "She's right, you know. We are stronger than we think. We're also more complicated than we think." "That, too." He kissed her temple. "But complicated is better than lonely." "Is it?" "With you. Always." Juliet leaned into him, watching their children play, and thought about the long, painful road that had brought them here. The heartbreak and betrayal, the fear and violence, the terrible choices and their consequences. But she also thought about second chances, about how love, real love, didn't give up even when it should, about how family wasn't just blood, but choice and sacrifice, and showing up every day even when it was hard. "Yoon." "Yeah?" "Ask me again." He went still. "Ask you what?" "You know what." He turned her to face him, and she saw hope and fear warring in his eyes. "Juliet Ambrose, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you and our children? Will you give me forever to make up for the time I wasted?" She pretended to think about it, enjoying the panic creeping into his expression. Then she smiled. "Yes, but I'm keeping my last name." "Done. Anything else?" "The children choose the wedding cake flavor." "Absolutely. And if you ever throw me away again, I won't. I can't. You're the best part of me." His voice was fierce. "You and Zion and Mia, you're everything that matters." She kissed him, pouring 3 years of pain and love and hope into the connection between them. When they broke apart, both twins were watching with knowing smiles. "Does this mean we're a real family now?" Zion asked. "We were always a real family," Juliet said. "But yes, baby, this makes it official." As Yoon pulled her close and the twins cheered, Juliet realized something important. The story she'd been telling herself about the Mafia lord who broke her heart and the man who saved her was never the truth. The truth was messier, more complicated, full of people making terrible choices for understandable reasons. Young-ho hadn't saved her. He'd used her. Yoon hadn't destroyed her out of cruelty, but out of fear. And she hadn't survived because she was strong, but because she'd had no other choice. But now they had choices. Now they had second chances. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth all the pain it had taken to get here. The lesson wasn't that love conquered all. Love didn't erase trauma or magically fix broken people. The lesson was simpler and harder, that people were complicated, that forgiveness was a choice you made every day, and that family, real family, was built not in perfect moments, but in the mess of showing up for each other when everything else fell apart. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, the person who broke your heart could learn to put it back together. Not perfectly, never perfectly, but piece by piece, day by day, building something new from the shattered remains of what was lost. That was the real love story, not the fairy tale ending, but the choice to keep choosing each other, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And as Juliet watched Yoon teach Zion a Korean children's song while Mia climbed into her lap, she thought that maybe, just maybe, the hard-won kind of love was the only kind worth having.